Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Ohio Huntsman Podcast. This week on the show, we're talking through I guess it's not the summary. The summary is what comes out at the end of the year. We're talking through the harvest reports that the ODNR puts out. Gives you how many deer have been killed, broken down by week. They also break it out, antlerless versus antlered deer. And we're just going to kind of have a discussion, little roundtable discussion on what we're seeing, trends we're seeing, comparing it to the previous year, comparing it to week. Before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that we have shirts. So if you go on social media, Facebook or Instagram, you should be able to find a link to where you can purchase shirts. They, as we mentioned last week, they are lucky shirts. So there's a good chance that you will become more successful in the woods and probably just in life in general. You'll probably be happier and more fulfilled if you wear one of these shirts. I've also noticed that they make your muscles look far larger, so that's another benefit. What else about the shirts? What else?
By the time this podcast released, we should have short sleeve, long sleeve, and hoodies.
Hoodies, yes. So we should have hoodies as well, which the hoodies are even better.
Right.
So you're definitely going to want to get one of each and, help us out. So get yourself a shirt. We are also doing a giveaway, trail camera giveaway. Who doesn't want to win a free trail camera? If I could win, I'd be entering, but I can't win, so I'm not going to enter. But it's a stealth camera. It's got all the goodies that you're going to need. It's got the SD card reader, so you can look at the pictures right on your phone while you're sitting in your stand. It's got the SD card. It's even got 8 batteries. Duracell batteries, not cheap Chinese batteries. Duracells, copper tops, the good stuff.
Are Duracells not made in China? Do you know where they're made?
I don't know where they're made, but I also know that they're better than the dollar store batteries.
Right.
Deal.
I'm guessing they're not made in China, but I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
I just didn't know.
I know I don't know if these batteries in particular are made in China. I know they make batteries in China because I in a previous job, we sold a product that included batteries, and they were definitely made in China batteries.
So
but they were Duracells.
I hit a Google on it. Duracell has 3 plants in the United States. Cleveland.
What?
Cleveland, Tennessee.
Oh,
you trickster. Lancaster, South Carolina, and LaGrange, Georgia. Elsewhere,
all 3 of those are cities in Ohio as well.
Yeah, that is correct.
Fun fact.
They also make them in Belgium and China. Dongguan, China.
So,
Jeff, grow up, dude.
It's a real city.
No, it was Jacob's face here.
Oh, makes people laugh.
Yeah, he's got a funny face.
Fair enough.
Wow, we got really derailed there.
Yeah, derailed. Okay.
So,
it comes with the batteries, and we're going to stand by that they are made in America.
Yeah. We're 50% sure that statement is true.
Right.
50% of the time.
Right.
So, trail camera giveaway. Again, social media. Hit us up on social media. If you're not catching the trend here, follow us on social media, both Instagram and Facebook, because that's where you're going to find out about these exciting things. Hot tips, giveaways, shirts, hoodies, all the works.
Right.
That's how you're going to keep up to date with all of this stuff. So follow us on Facebook. We are Ohio Huntsman on Facebook, Ohio Huntsman Podcast on Instagram. Subscribe to the show while you're at it. That way you get notified of new episodes. And one other favor I'll ask is subscribe using the Radio Public app. That helps support the show. It's just like listening on any other platform. Works on Android and iPhone. You can listen on your computer while you're at work when you should be working, but instead you're listening to us. So kudos. And that helps support the show as well. So if you could, use the Radio Public app or the Radio Public link to their web player to listen to the show. I would greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, we are going to get into the deer harvest numbers. I keep wanting to call it the summary, but the summary is the report that they put out at the end of the year once they've collected all the data, which if you guys aren't reading the summary, you should. There's they put tons of charts and graphs and trends over time. Definitely be reading the summary reports when they put them out at the end of the year. These are just the numbers through week 7 of hunting season, which is through November 14th. So that includes from the start of season up until, I guess, what you would call probably peak breeding of the rut time. So with that, I guess we'll start off comparing. Now, we don't have trend data over time, but we're just looking at comparing 2017 to 2018 numbers. So at the end of week 7 in 2018, we have a total harvest of 54,308 deer, as compared to last year with 56,675. The numbers are the numbers. I don't know how much the number itself matters, but what we're looking at is those numbers are down 4% from 2017 to 2018. I think another interesting thing that you'll find from that, if you look at these numbers, is we started off 2018 way down compared to 2017. The first 2 weeks were down. The first week was down 20%. The second week was down 23%. And then since then, we've kind of caught up, and the 2 years have sort of, there's not a huge 20 to 23% gap. You're looking at week 6, we were up 1% in 2018. Now at this point, we're down 4%. And these are total numbers increasing as the season goes on. So week 1 plus week 2 plus week 3, right? We're comparing 2017 to 2018. Anything else you guys found interesting about that or that you want to mention?
Well, the first thing that I kind of want to mention here is just because we're down 4% compared to last year, I do not feel that it's any reason to start panicking.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of factors that make the deer hard to hunt. The weather hasn't really been great for most of the season. It was hot, and then it was rainy, and then it was windy, and conditions haven't been great. There was a very good acorn mass production this year, which makes deer hard to pattern,
especially early.
Right. And also, now that we're getting a little later in the season, a lot of the crops are staying on the fields a little longer this year.
Yep.
So that's really having an effect. So I would not panic, and I would kind of be excited about the deer harvest being a little low at this point, because that means there's plenty of deer left in the woods.
There's more left, right?
There you go.
Yeah, and again, we're still early in the season, right? This is only through week 7. Do anybody know how many weeks there are total in deer season?
I do not.
Should have looked that up before this.
Yeah, that would have been helpful to know.
Yeah.
Like what percentage through the season we were,
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe next time, because we'll probably do another one of these, as we get farther through the season, see how the numbers are tracking. But the next thing we looked at was the year-to-year comparison by week. So the first set of numbers, like I said, were cumulative numbers. So week 1 plus week 2 plus week 3. The second set of data that we kind of put together, given the numbers that the ODNR publishes, is comparing week 1 of 2017 to week 1 of 2018. And you can see, you can sort of infer some things about what that means. Maybe the first opening weekend of deer season one year was crummy weather and people didn't hunt, or, you can, using that data, you can kind of compare on a week by week basis 2017 to 2018. So I would say interesting things here. The first couple weeks we're down on a week by week basis. So we're down, and we also broke this out by antlered and antlerless. So the first week, so the start of season through October 3rd, we were down 16% on antlered deer harvest. The second week, October 3rd through October 10th, we were down 26%. And then the third, and this is again antlered deer, so bucks, the third week, we jumped up. We were up. The buck harvest was up 52%. So that third week is October 10th through October 17th. And I'm trying to think back. Did that align with that cold front that came through in early, like we got that early cold snap?
I think it might have
so,
been.
yes.
I think it might have been.
So
which
that
makes sense.
might be why you're seeing that big jump in harvest numbers on bucks and does. Does were up 46% that same week 3, comparing 2017 to 2018.
The one thing, just as I kind of jumping back a little bit, but you can kind of talk about it in either category, that does surprise me is I am surprised that our doe harvest is not up because of the new public land laws in Ohio. Or I'm sorry, I take that back. Down more than it is. Because I'm surprised that it's not down more because I'm only allowed to shoot one doe on public land.
Right.
And then kind of on the flip side of that, and maybe this is what balances it out, I'm surprised that the early weeks aren't higher because you lose the ability to harvest does after gun season on public land.
Well, and did they lower the amount of counties that you can use the antlerless tags this year?
Because that's okay.
Because that would
I see. So the way we did our data here, no, because this is tagged antlerless deer, whether
Right.
you're using an either sex tag or an antlerless tag.
Yes.
Okay. They might have.
I don't remember, but I
Yeah.
feel like there are fewer counties that you can use the antlerless tags in this year than there was last. Do you know,
Yeah,
Jeff? Do you
I'm
know?
not positive on that.
I might be making that up. I don't know. But
But
I
yeah,
just kind of expected to see a spike early in antlerless deer because guys were going to feel like they got to get their doe on the ground because late season when a lot of people hunt the does, for meat or whatever, they can't. So I was expecting to see a spike early, but the trend is pretty consistent across the board, antlered, antlerless total. So I think it was more weather dependent. I don't think it really had any impact on when guys chose to harvest antlerless versus antlered. It doesn't seem like there was any difference.
Right. I expected that new law to have a pretty large impact on on hunter behavior.
Right.
I expected to see buck harvest up because people, instead of shooting that second doe, would be shooting a buck to get the meat. People who are hunting for meat.
right.
And I expected the doe harvest to be down because they could only harvest one doe. But that is, so far, it doesn't appear that that's happening, that it's influencing hunter behavior to that level, to a noticeable amount.
Well, and I wonder too if that's maybe indicative of the amount of available public land in Ohio, right? I mean, you don't
Right.
have a ton of public land, or there's also the ever-present misreporting, right? Oh, I shot that on a private
Right.
so that I can continue to hunt, sort of thing. That's also a possibility. No way to quantify that. I don't think. I don't know. I'm not a statistician, but it's interesting to pontificate on, right? So, anything else interesting from like the week-to-week comparison that you guys wanted to touch on?
When I was
17 and
looking,
18.
there was a lot of talk this year about an early rut. The rut was going to come early. Looking at the numbers, there was a jump the first week of November. So November 1st through November 7th, there was a increase of 15% on antlered deer, 13% on antlerless deer. But I feel like that was probably weather related, I would think. I don't know what the weather was like the first week of November last year. But I know this year, that first week of November, I think the weather was semi-decent.
Friday, I hunted that November 2nd or something, and it was rainy pretty much all, it dried out in the evening, but it rained all night, like the first into the second, and it was still pretty wet in the woods Friday morning. But
Yeah, I think I hunted that weekend and had to deal with a
Was it
lot
rain?
of flooding.
Was it when
It rained.
So it was wet.
end of the week, so in the weekend, the woods were very wet. I was dealing with a lot of flooding.
Right.
So, I mean,
Which
I don't know.
definitely
Maybe
affects things.
right, and maybe that is indicative of an earlier chasing period, because you look at the following week, which is your, I guess, most commonly traditional week of rut, so to speak.
You're talking week 6 to week 7, November 6th through
Yeah.
the 13th.
So if you look at, yes, November, I guess it would be November 8th through the 14th.
No, you're looking at, so the weeks are different. The dates are different.
I'm looking at
17
last
to 18.
year. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. So it'd be 6 through 13.
Yeah.
That week was down 13% for antler, 19 and 15% overall. So maybe that, I mean, I don't know, maybe that is indicative of more deer being locked up at that point and not moving. But weather also does play a role in that. I know we hunted that week.
But here's a good one that'll blow your mind, though, right? If you're looking at that, if you go to the next group of data that we put together, it compares week to week. So week 1 of 2018 to week 2 of 2018 to week 3 of 2000, and then the same thing for 2017. And if you look at 2017 data, week 5, which was from October 24th through October 31st, the buck harvest was up 177%
from the previous week.
from the previous week. So that's not even into October,
Right,
right? And they didn't say anything last year about an early rut,
right,
but you had a huge jump in
right.
antlered harvests in late October in 2017.
Right. It's clearly a big jump.
It's also interesting to me to, like, I've never compiled the data this way. I always kind of pay attention to the harvest numbers, but I've never looked at it this way. But just to watch not only the antlered harvest go up as you go through week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but just the total deer harvest go up from week to week, which, I wonder how much of that is just more guys are getting into the woods. It feels more like hunting season.
Right.
Or they're getting into the woods because it's the rut and I need to be hunting, and how much of that is just that the deer are up moving more during daylight hours, and so you're getting more opportunity. It's I guess, an interesting thing to think about. What I think the one takeaway is, you should definitely, the deer harvest numbers are going up as you go. The buck harvest especially goes up as you get up into that week 7. So that's definitely time frame you should be in the woods. For example, 2018, going from week 5 to week 6, the buck harvest went up 96%. And then if you look at a 2-week period, so if you go from week 5 to week 7, the buck harvest went up 177%. So if you want to shoot a big giant buck, hunt those couple weeks 5 through 7 of the deer season. You heard it here on the Ohio Huntsman podcast. Hopefully next year you shoot a big giant buck, because we collected data and we analyzed data. So another interesting thing that I wanted to point out is, we were getting ready to record this. We got an email from the ODNR stating the youth gun season harvest numbers. So in 2017, the youth season was 4,958 deer. 2018 was 6,563 deer. So from 17 to 18, the youth season harvest went up 32.4%, which is a pretty big jump, really, for that 2-day gun season for the youth. Hopefully that means there's more youth participating. But it might, if I'm remembering correctly, though,
I feel like the weather was horrible last year.
Crummy last youth season in 2017.
Yeah.
If I remember
I feel like
correctly.
the weather was really bad.
So hopefully there's more people participating,
Right.
but there's probably a big weather factor there that contributed. But
Right, I
just
feel like
another
they had-
interesting data point.
They had some pretty perfect weather this last weekend.
Yeah.
Especially, in terms of having kids in the woods, it wasn't bitter cold, but it was cold enough to where you weren't sweating either.
Right.
It was pretty good weather to have kids out.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of stuff on social media about youth getting out there and having some success. So congratulations to any of the youth that were out there and either got their first deer or got a deer in general and just were able to participate in the youth season. That's always a good time. I know, Jeff, you've got a lot of stories from the youth season with Dad, going down to the cabin or whatever. And
because right when I started getting into hunting, I was old enough to start hunting, was when the youth seasons started. That's the first years of youth season were when I was starting to hunt. So yeah, I have good memories, from youth deer season, youth turkey season. So
Yeah.
I mean, Dad really took the opportunity with youth turkey season to get out there, because he was pretty new to turkey hunting, but he really took that opportunity to get out there and practice calling.
right, try stuff.
Because there wasn't a bunch of people in the woods, so he would, get out there and practice calling.
Yeah. So, what else? What else did we want to talk about? I think an interesting thing, week 1 to week 2, and I think this is just an opening weekend excitement thing, right? You get a spike in opening weekend, and then it drops off. So both years, 2017, from week 1 to week 2, your harvest numbers drop. In 2017, they went down 52%. That's buck and doe, antlered and antlerless. In 2018, they went down 58%, but we had a much bigger rebound in the the third week in 2018. So they were down 58% in 2018. So we're comparing week 1 of 2018 to week 2 of 2018. We were down 58%. Then comparing week 3 to week 2, we were up 184%. Whereas last year, week 2 to week 3, we were up, but we were only up 35%.
Yeah, and another thing to take note of is just the way that the ODNR keeps their data, their deer harvest data. That first week is actually a little skewed in the negative, because that first week is actually only a 4-day week.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a full week.
Yeah, the season starts on Saturday, and they run their weeks to Tuesday.
Yep.
So that was only a 4-day week.
I also noticed that some of these were through Tuesday and some of them were through Wednesday. So I don't know if that was just when they had a chance to record the numbers, or do you know anything about that?
This year was kind of weird. I believe all the data runs through Tuesday, but they publish them on Wednesday. So some of them were, the published date was the date that they put on there, when actually the data only ran through Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I also think that maybe they were trying to match up the weeks a little better this year. Because, they kind of switched things up on us, 3 weeks in, they kind of switched how some of the stuff, how some of the reporting was being done.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, obviously the cumulative numbers are going to continue to go up as the season goes on, right? Week 7 plus week 8 plus week 9, right? Those numbers continue to go up. It'll be interesting to see how they compare to 2017, to 2016. I always like kind of comparing, maybe a 3-year history or something to see how things are doing. But because again, like I said, I haven't really looked at it in this way. I'm interested to see how the week-to-week numbers, because right now we're on an upward trend, right? If you graph the week 1 versus week 2 versus week 3, those data points keep going up, more or less. They're trending upward. But at some point, right, those numbers are going to level off and or maybe start to go down, right? As you get past gun season,
Right.
you might see.
Yeah, they're going to spike.
Right.
The number of
spike for sure. Yeah.
deer
Gun season
harvested
will
during gun season is going to be a major spike.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how that data sort of plays out on a week to week basis as the season goes on, and how many deer are harvested in late January. If you're getting down into the single digits, or I don't know. I've never really paid that close of attention to it. But anything else we want to cover on the harvest numbers through week 7?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so. I guess other than just to kind of group, like you said, group some weeks together. I mean, week 5, 6, and 7 is your rut, you would say. And based on that, the deer harvest during the rut is down this year from last year.
Yes.
So just based on strictly numbers, last year was a better rut than this year. Whether
Well,
people
week
agree with
6
that.
was better this year. Week 5 was down, if you're looking
Right.
at total, right? Week
Right.
5 was down 26%,
6 was up.
up
Right.
14%, and then
Right.
week 7 we're down again 15%.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, looking at the 3 weeks together, if you assume that's your rut, that 3-week period, we're down.
Right, overall, you're
Overall.
down.
So, but like you said, that week 6, which would have been the quote unquote early rut, so to speak, right after Halloween. I mean, I don't know what people were considering early, but that was definitely up. So it's just kind of curious. I'm kind of interested in to see how that kind of plays out based on what people think is a good rut versus a bad rut
Yeah.
versus, I don't get involved in the moons and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Hokum.
But I think, I think I remember seeing something about the moons were saying that last week of October was supposed to be the best, and that clearly does not play out based on this data.
Yeah.
26% down from 17 to 18, and that was supposed to be the rut moon or whatever. Like I said, I don't get involved in that. Some people swear by it.
Well,
I'm
and we
more of the mindset of, as we've kind of mentioned before, be in the woods the first 2 weeks of November. Last
Yeah.
week of October, maybe, but from Halloween till the middle of November is every year, week after, year after year is
yeah.
rut.
And I think that was Jeff's phone on vibrate. So if any of you want to publicly shame him on Facebook or Instagram, feel free. But hey, we're still new at this podcast thing, so
We can cut that out.
we're gonna cut that. So now I lost my thought, Jeff. Your vibration messed me up. What was I gonna say? Oh, nope, still lost it. Doesn't matter.
Okay, well, what I was going to say is, in general, I feel that the total harvest is very positive. We're at a positive place right now because of how hard deer have been to hunt so far this season, with the factors that are against hunters, with poor weather, good acorn mass production.
I would say that's
crops
the
in
big
field.
one, right? Yeah, well, the crops and the
Crops
acorn
and the
thing,
acorns,
right? Like,
yeah.
and I guess we have had some, like the weekends, right? The weekends is probably primarily when people are hunting, and you have had some kind of weird weekend weather and wet. Man, has it been wet?
Right.
So, yeah, only being down 4% overall, I don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah, I think it's positive,
And I expect a significant increase for gun season this year based on weather again.
I expect a significant increase once people start wearing our shirts.
Well, I agree.
we'll keep you updated on that trend as
And
well.
Yes.
The T-shirts are available in Hunter Orange, so
Yeah.
The
The long sleeves aren't because I don't have the option of Hunter Orange in the long sleeve. I have fewer color options for some reason.
Yeah,
But
I think our shirts will be getting delivered right after Thanksgiving. So look for that spike right after Thanksgiving.
yes, you'll
Right.
see the harvest numbers going up right
Right.
after Thanksgiving.
Right.
Because of our shirts.
because of our shirts, nothing
Solely
to do-
because of our
right,
shirts.
Correct.
Yes.
I think it's
So-
going to be maybe that first week after Thanksgiving. There'll be
Yeah.
a huge spike.
Yes.
But I expect the numbers to go up because of our shirts, because the weather will be a little better, a little less rain this year. I'm hoping. It looks like there's going to be a little less rain than there has been in the last couple years, but specifically last year, since that's what we're comparing.
Yeah.
So hopefully more guys will be out enjoying the sport.
Well, and next time we do one of these updates, we should try to pull like a, I don't know if Weather Underground, you can get like a summary, a history of the weather. We can compare weather in 17 to weather in 8. That would be an interesting sort of data point to talk about. But all right. Well, anything else before we sign off?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, as always, we appreciate all the comments, all the interaction on Facebook. Please leave us a review. Leave us any feedback, topic ideas. And again, if you listen through the Radio Public app, that helps the show, helps support the show. Follow us on Facebook, Ohio Huntsman on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We're at Ohio Huntsman Podcast. And thanks for listening.